Till this incident occurred.
Enlève la dernière note, tu la jettes.
Ça va.
Et tu m'enregistres tout ça, vas-y.
Ok.
Qu'est-ce que vous dites là?
Merci.
Ah, c'est pas mal, hein? Allez, je me barre.
Non, encore, c'est pas fini, je peux pas.
Pas que ça à faire, je vais le temps de rester.
5 minutes, juste 5 minutes.
Grosse caisse, qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Con. Grosse caisse, qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Parfait. Recording. Tu vois, j'ai un truc un peu sanguinolent, tu vois, un peu dépressif, tu vois, un peu nonchalant, de la désinvolture.
You're as clumsy as you are stupid. Apology accepted. Apology accepted. Not resist. Not resist. Not resist. That's my patience. Your growth.
One bloke died, you know, and his wife was trying to get in touch with him. She loved him so much. She wondered what the hell. She got a media. You know these mediums, is it? And they got round the table and trying to get in touch with her husband. And he got in touch, you know. Is that you, Albert? He said, yes, love. She said, what are you doing now, Albert? He said, oh, he said, I'm enjoying myself now, love. He said, and this life is wonderful. I fly all over the place. She said, you never flew when you were married to me. You wouldn't go to bloody Mallorca. You always ended up in bloody Blackpool. He said, Dad, I go swimming every day now as well. She said, swimming and bloody flying. She said, you went near the sea when you were alive. He said, I'm making love to everything now. You love life. She said, is it good? She said, I have a bed every night. She said, you went like that when you got married to me, she says. He said, I wasn't a bleeding duck, was I?
He was convicted back in December of 2022 on 3 different felony charges: assault with a semi-automatic firearm, having a loaded unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence. Now, this all stems from an incident. He was convicted back in December of 2022 on 3 different felony charges: assault with a semi-automatic firearm, having a loaded unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence. Now, this all stems from an incident. This is what happens in by-elections. It's all extremely dramatic, and then as soon as it's over, everybody clears out. You can see they're literally taking down the set behind me, but it was a very eventful night. We were all here for many, many hours as the votes were counted and recounted, and Reform UK won. This is what happens in by-elections.
Mr. Speaker, now then, Sam Wilson is a farmer in Ashfield. He's not a rich man. In fact, he's not drawn a wage in the past 4 years. So I want the Minister, Mr. Speaker, to look me in the eyes and tell me how many farmers he's spoken to over the past few months that actually agree with this harebrained scheme. Minister?
Well, last time I spoke to her over the weekend, congratulated me on what we were doing.
pathway to a stable Syria, a Syria for the Syrians.
Absolutely. It's interesting to hear from your guest just now saying there's lots of speculation about where Assad might be right now. Now, there's reports saying that he's fled the country to an unknown location. My bet would be that he's in Russia right now. But, there were lots of reports last night, in the last few days, saying that we should not underestimate President Assad's, instinct for survival. He's the same man who, during the civil war, has dropped 82,000 barrel bombs on civilians. 400,000 people died during the civil war. So has he really gone down without a fight? That's the question, really.
Yeah, a brutal regime that Assad placed on his own people for many years, Alicia. And this will be a moment for lots of people. We've seen the pictures in Damascus of people celebrating. Immediately, it will be but eventually there could be a pathway to a stable Syria, a Syria for the Syrians.
Absolutely. It's interesting to hear from your guest just now saying there's lots of speculation.
The local elections. However, there are many fantastic councillors and very good councils that Conservatives are running, and they are going to be fighting for every vote, because at the end of the day, Conservative councils deliver lower taxes and better services.
I'm only interrupting you because there's something I must show you.
Okay.
And I just want you to tell me how you react to this. Now, they finally put out this poster last night.
That's just weird, isn't it? I mean, look at that. It doesn't make any sense.
Says no difference between you and Reform.
I think even just looking at that picture shows that they're trying to make an argument that doesn't work. Of course, there are huge differences between us and Reform. If there weren't, there wouldn't be a Reform party. Picture shows that they're trying to make an argument that doesn't work.
UK leader Nigel Farage has said that the English Defence League co-founder Tommy Robinson isn't welcome in his party. Followed high-profile support for Robinson, his real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, from Elon Musk.
Oh, having him as a supporter is very helpful to our cause. I mean, goodness me. I mean, he's an absolute hero figure, particularly young people in this country. So, yes, he's very helpful indeed. Now, look, everyone says, well, what about his comments on Tommy Robinson? Look, my position's perfectly clear on that. I never wanted Tommy Robinson to join UKIP. I don't want him to join Reform UK, and he won't be.
UK leader Nigel Farage has said that the English Defence League co-founder Tommy Robinson isn't welcome in his party. Followed high-profile support for Robinson, his real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, from Elon Musk.
Oh, having him as a supporter is very helpful to our cause. I mean, goodness me. I mean, he's an absolute hero figure, particularly young people in this country. So, yes, he's very helpful indeed. Now, look, everyone says, well, what about his comments on Tommy Robinson? Look, my position's perfectly clear on that. I never wanted Tommy Robinson to join UKIP. I don't want him to join Reform UK, and he won't be.
3 persons, yeah. 3 people. No, I mean, if I say persons and you ignore that, that's up to you.
1 person.
So,
You can't say 2 persons.
can you show me?
You can't say persons. It's people.
Can you show me? That was grammatically wrong, by the way. But 3 persons, yeah.
3 people.
No, I mean, if I say persons and you ignore that, that's up to you.
1 person.
So,
You can't say 2 persons.
can you show me?
You can't say persons. It's people.
Can you show me? That was grammatically wrong, by the way.
Cleaning his windows, and he's cleaning his bathroom window, and he looks at the window and there's a gorgeous blonde in the bath. And he went, she saw him, she went like that, she looked up and she said, hello. She said, would you like to rinse your leather in your bathwater? He said, what? She said,
empty leather in my bathwater? She said, yeah. She said, well, let down the ladder and put it in the grate because I'm going to pull the plug out.
I tell you, that was funny. I was working in Yorkshire one week, and I went to this house, and it was out in the country. It was a bit old-fashioned, and but the fella who owned the house didn't know I was there, because he didn't let me in. His wife let me in, because he was out when I came in. And he's still with me. And he said to me, he said, are you the comic that's on the Tower Club? I said, yes. He said, have you just been up our garden? I said, yes. He said, have you just been in that shed? I said, that little shed? He said, yes, that little shed. I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I have. He said, did you pull that chain? I said, yes. He said, well, he left all my pigeons out.
These two sailors, they got on this train, say, in Southampton, and they were going home for 2 weeks' leave, and they were sat in this carriage, and the only other fellow in the carriage was a vicar, and he was sat in the corner. And one sailor said to his mate, he said, what are you going to do, George? What are you going to do for the next 2 weeks? He said, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out with a different girl every night. Every night, a different girl. What are you going to do? He said, I'm going down to the pub, and I'm going to drink 6 or 8 pints of beer every night for the next fortnight. That's what I'm going to do. Until the fellow was reading the newspaper. He said, what's that word in the newspaper? What does that mean, that? Lumbago. Well, the vicar hadn't said a word up to now. He thought, now's my chance. So the vicar looked up and said, lumbago is caused by gentlemen who go out with a different girl every evening. It is also caused by gentlemen who go to the public house and take intoxicating liquor in excess as well. Told you that's funny. It says in the paper the Archbishop of Canterbury's got it.
Alright, man, so today we're here with Miami. Alright, so look, man, where you from, man?
Right here.
Right?
What's in that mic, man?
You say what?
What's in that mic, man?
Nothing.
Shit's not bad there, man.
This my nephew, Mike.
Your nephew, Mike? Man, shit. God damn. Man, look at man.
What?
That shit's killing me.
What you mean? I'm saying you trying to be a part of the interview or what, man?
Yes, I'm trying to be a part of the interview, because
Alright, so look. Black History Month or Christmas?
Christmas.
Why Christmas?
He keeps saying Chris. You get gifts. Damn, that shit.
You don't like Black History Month?
Yeah, I like that too, but oh Lord. Man.
What happened?
Man, that mic stink, man. God damn, who mic this is?
My nephew, Mike.
Man, you need to get that mic back to your nephew, man.
You not trying to be a part?
See America as a threat, right?
Yeah, I think they've got eyes and ears. They can see what's happening. I'm not at all surprised by that change. They've seen horrendous comments and simple unreliableness from President Trump. Yeah, I've got constituents contacting me, asking me to speak to the government, as I have been, to say, please, now is time to reconsider who our allies are and look at Europe, where generally we share more of their values. European countries aren't perfect, of course, but I think this is really a time for the UK government to consider carefully who its allies are.
I mean, Keir Starmer is taking the view that see America as a threat, right?
Yeah, I think they've got eyes and ears. They can see what's happening. I'm not at all surprised by that change. They've seen horrendous.
Yeah, and what the figures are showing, Mike, if you take the kind of the population growth within 1 year, you rightly called out there, you've got net migration of around 662,000, but that is the sum of all the people who come in less the people who leave. So we are seeing some replacement in the population. And what that 662,000 means, Mike, is if you think of the population of Cardiff, the national capital of Wales, 1.8 times more people came to Britain or the UK in 1 year than the whole of the population of Cardiff. So amazing. The difficulty you've got there, Mike, is that the governments have accepted mass immigration for the last 10, 20 years, but the infrastructure's not in place.
Right.
And then the standard of living for everybody living here diminishes when you accept these kind of numbers coming in.
Well, the figure that we were given as well yesterday, comparatively speaking, because I thought it was actually more recently than that, but certainly in the last 20 years, the population has grown by 10 million. And I think you'd probably agree with me when we say we're not even sure if this is the...
Yeah.
Woman of colour and first woman to be elected to the presidency.
I am so disappointed and really insulted. I'm a Howard alum, and that she didn't have the decency to walk out and say something to her, to her university, make a comment to the United States. Things were not looking well for her. It wasn't completely over, but short of a miracle, we knew which way this was going. And that she didn't have some grace. I mean, it shows us how classless she actually is, a sore loser. And even though it's painful for her, for the Democrats, I think America might be relieved at recognizing and realizing they don't have to put up with this any longer. And if this is what they were walking into, maybe it's better that it gets, cut at the...
They got the four Irish fellas thinking of robbing the bank, so they're organising it. The four of them were down the Wellish. The brains. He said, well. Now look, lad, now, Michael, now, you ready? What I want you to do, get the gun and rush in and stop any of the customers, get them up against the wall, and if there's anything, shoot them. He said, I will. I'll be outside in the car because I've got the worst job. I said, right. He said, now, Sean, what I want you to do, he said, is to nip in after Pat and jump over the counter and get the chili. Go on with the money. And make a lie on the floor. Put your willy on the head and keep it there. Yes. Now, your job is now. What I want you to see now, I'll be outside in the car because I got the worst job, the hardest job of the lot in the car. Because you nip in and open the safe, blow open the safe now and get the money out. Right. Now, we'll meet you now, synchronize your watches now, we'll meet you at 9 o'clock, right? I'll be out in the car, because I've got the worst job. Now, hang on a minute, we're robbing the bank and you're sitting, how come you've got the worst job? So there's no tax on the car.
And the bucket came along and he sort of looked at the nun and he done a double take and he went, He said, excuse me, he said, I don't mean to stare at you. He said, but you're beautiful. He said, you're fucking nun, no? He said, what do you think of leaving the order to marry me? She said, I'm ever so sorry, my son. She said, I'm married to God. He said, sister, I don't mean to be a fucking nuisance. He said, I think you meet the one you're going to marry like that, and you're fucking her. He said, would you just not even think that? He said, I'm telling you, so it's very big flattering to you, but I'm married to God. Excuse me. And with that, she got up and got the back. And after I said, I couldn't help but get over you, Bush. He said, you got a big lovely no one. He said, you've made her excited. She's got brewery, she's had a help up in Buckingham. He said, do you know the church in the meadow? He said, yes, very well. He said, but if it's any help to you, he said, I ring you good for her. She goes down there every morning at 6 o'clock for morning prayers. He said, you can go down there and you can pin her up. So I thought, I'll give it a try. So I got a big white wig and a beard. In white cloak, Jesus saying, oh, he's standing behind a big tree, wasn't he? We see this nun is still dark. Nun's come over across the meadow, so he jumped out and got on the tree. She went, Jesus! He said, that's right, my child. He said, and you are married to me. He said, and I have come down to earth to consummate the marriage. She said, you picked the pin wrong way. So Jesus said, that's fucking news, I've got it on there. She said, well, I don't mind trying to be out the bag. Oh, it's all right. So I turned around now and sleeping while we got one up the back of it. When he was finished, he felt all we thought, big numb, stuffing up, dirty bum. You know, and he said, sister, I've got a confession to make. He said, I'm not Jesus. He said, I'm that bloke on a fucking bus. And the nun said, well, I've got a confession as well. I'm not the nun, I'm the bus driver.
I wish I could talk to someone who's been in my shoes, you know? A black South Asian woman running for president, preferably from the Bay Area.
The laugh that delights Democrats and infuriates Republicans.
I don't really laugh like that, do I? I wish I could talk to someone who's been in my shoes, you know? A black South Asian woman running for president.
Tony Blair, he has said this, here we go, people are being asked to make financial sacrifices and changes in lifestyle when they know that their impact on global emissions is minimal. their impact on global emissions is minimal. And it goes on to say any strategy based on either phasing out fossil fuels in the short term or limiting consumption is a strategy doomed to fail. Well, remember, this government strategy is to replace fossil fuels. They want to get to net zero by 2050. We have had a clarification from people around Tony Blair today saying that they agree with government policy, and we've got this from the Prime Minister's spokesperson who's being asked about it. Good to see the Institute, that's the Tony Blair Institute, backing the government's approach, broad consensus on it. And a capable track record of success as a professional person. But he was often accused of being a bit of a blank sheet when it came to any sort of philosophy. And then here, this, what you described as sort of securocrat script, has come in and given him something to respond to and given him something to say. Do you think it's genuine? Does it look genuine?
Well, I think it has advantages and disadvantages. I think it's right, he sold it as one of his credits that he wasn't moored in ideology, that there would be no such thing as Starmerism, that he wanted to be practical and pragmatic. So he has given himself manoeuvre room there to be a little bit more of a political chameleon. On the other hand, I think a lot of the polling on how the public see Keir Starmer, and indeed as his personal ratings have plunged since the general election 9 short months ago, also show that the public kind of get this sense that he doesn't necessarily stand for something. There are complaints as well on his own backbenches and even among some of his more senior team members that he doesn't really have a vision, and this kind of managerial, technocratic script that he's reading from doesn't inspire voters, and that may be why someone with the charisma of Nigel Farage seems to be dominating so much of the agenda in Westminster.
And yet it did give him an absolutely thumping majority not so long ago, and local elections are often a moment when sitting governments do get a bit of a kick out.
That's all true. Although we shouldn't forget, it's often called the Loveless landslide, because while he won, it's fair to say, a stunning majority in terms of common seats, that was only on 34% of the national vote. So it was a sort of highly efficient spread of Labour votes throughout the kind of Westminster 650 constituencies, and some of those majorities in those seats were very small, and already there is a sense of nerves among Labour MPs with very small majorities that they might find it very difficult to hold their seats at the next election. So we might see rumbling and anxiety on the Labour backbenches begin just to creep up after this set of local election results too.
Big waves can be very shallow waves too. Lucy, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's great to have you with us this morning. And let me welcome to the studio Tim Montgomery. Many of you will remember Tim as a long-time Conservative activist and founder of Conservative Home, very powerful force in Conservative politics, a website, but now a Reform activist, Tim. And one of the many Conservatives who have gone from their traditional party over to Reform. When you see the results stacking up as they
that part of it disgusting, but ultimately, without repealing the legacy bill as it stands, don't forget there was unanimous opposition to it from every political party in Northern Ireland and all the victims groups, because it was being put through to protect what on the surface Middle England was going to say, oh no, we can't have compensation going to terrorists. Unfortunately in Northern Ireland, with the Good Friday Agreement, we've already effectively had an amnesty of sorts where convicted terrorists were let free, all in the name of buying peace. But without repealing the current act, there's no opportunity for civil action for actual victims of terrorist attacks. And so to try and make out that it's solely to stop Jerry Adams getting compensation or for former Army veterans being prosecuted is only a small part of the story. The bigger part is what I believe, certainly in my father's case and others, is state collusion with the IRA. We've heard plenty of stuff over the years about state collusion with loyalist paramilitaries, but I think it was actually a bigger problem with state collusion with Republican paramilitaries. All the intelligence material here from the police and the army all ultimately fed back to MI5, and the security services fed back to the secretaries of state over the years to make policy decisions. I think that is where the bigger problem lies. It's the whole idea of the amnesties with the letters of comfort that were given out. For example, John Downey, I believe he received his letter of comfort in 2007. The bigger question has to be around those letters, and certainly the current Prime Minister has an awful lot to answer for, because from 2003 to 2008, Sir Keir Starmer was the Human Rights Advisor to the Policing Board for Northern Ireland, who were responsible for issuing the letters of comfort. So one has to ask the question, did Keir Starmer actually draft these letters? Did he know of the crimes that the individuals were going to be receiving them for? I think there's very, very serious questions for him to answer.
God bless Mummy, God bless Daddy, God bless Grandma, hello Granddad. Funny, the old man didn't tell me he was going on. I was downstairs talking to his wife, and she said, is your father going away? She said, no, not tomorrow, nor his wife. And I heard the boy saying, tell what your Granddad. I said, no, I must be mistaken. And I got a phone call. 5:30 in the morning, the old man's died. He thought, get out that boy's got a premonition on King Dad. I reckon King Eye for him. 6 weeks have gone by, he's putting the boy to bed every King Eye. God bless Mummy, God bless Daddy. Hello, Grandma. King Harvey, King saw her at Aces, King help you, didn't he? Coming out to visit him the following morning, King knocked over, King killed. King help. That boy's got a premonition on definitely going to have King Eye for him. 12 weeks went by. He's putting it there. God bless Mummy. Hello, Daddy. He thought, King, I'm going. He thought, I ain't going to take that last man to get to me. I shouted, King Knight, boy, King now sleep, the last man to get me. I ain't going to work my car, the bastard might not be over. So he's going to work all through King back fences. And he's seen him work. So one of his mates said, what's the matter, Barry? Oh, he said, King Bill Warren. I said, King, go home, keep firing all around here. He said, you know, he said, no, I'm King. He's gone back home, he's got King fences. He's on the back door, King sweats pouring up to him. His old woman said, no, I said, oh. I said, what a King day I had. He said, what a King day you had. I got out of the
in a landslide, with more than 90% of them. He is the first leader in more than half a century to not belong to the Bongo family. 23.
All the fan haven't been here 1,453 days.
No, we're not going to ignore that.
Get a hug.
No, apparently.
Come on.
No, what?
Come on.
No, I don't want a hug. I was going to say.
Haven't been here 1,453 days.
No, we're not going to ignore that.
Get a hug.
No, apparently.
Come on.
No, what?
Come on.
No, I don't want a hug.
Come on.
Okay, yeah.
Come on.
I was going to say.
We don't mind.
Apparently.
Come on.
No, what?
Come on.
No, I don't want a hug. Okay, yeah.
Come on.
I was going to say.
We don't mind hugging.
Yeah, don't worry.
You've moved on so fast.
I've got a couple of new husbands now.
So fast. She doesn't hug me either.
No, I don't do hugs, as you know. I've locked horns with you.
Yes, you have, Suzanne.
On many an occasion.
Yes, you have.
But you have locked horns.
You're retired now. What did you used to do? Great thing. Get now. You evil bastard. I used to go down to the crematorium. I used to sweep up the ashes and send them out to Africa to the cannibals and ready bread. And did you work, Mum? Nah. Just brought up a family. How many did you have? Six. Did you really? You know, they all weren't dead while you were burying, were they? You know, you deserve a knighthood. Probably got one on my wear department. There's somebody out there who's happy. It's nice to fucking talk to people. A lot of people don't talk to me. I don't know if you want. They think I'm a piss taker. It's that hard to walk me through the jungle. What a poxy you'll hear. And in the distance you could hear fucking drums. Is that really? Really? I got the money to give you a right large portion of hell there. You was not stopping me in this here jungle. He said, why not? She said, but a snake will come up and bite my arm. He said, well, you're a nuisance. I got a horn now. She said, man, you'll find somewhere it's flat and quiet and you can have as much as you like. He said, and I'll just appear you come with me. So I walked to this clearing, 300 yards wide. And in the middle of it was a single knotty railway track. And I walked to the middle, line cloth off. He laid it down, he put a bit on one sleeper, back on another sleeper, arse on another sleeper. He was 22 foot long. So he's knelt down beside her and he's got on one of her tits and gone, oh, Lily, these are lovely titties, Lily. Look at that nipple there, can you get rid of one of these at all, Lily? And he's gone, oh, Lily, look at that lovely Jack and Danny there. So he's climbed in between her legs and he's given her some long, slow strokes. And he's getting the occasional hairlock. So he's picked her legs up, he's put one on one shoulder, one on the other shoulder. And he's rolled her up onto the arse.
On the memorial to the victims of the Manchester Arena attack is the name of Martin Hett. It is now a name enshrined in a law aimed at putting right the failings of that night. Because Martin and the 21 other victims paid the price for what the inquiry into the attack called serious shortcomings in security. There were failings and mistakes, missed opportunities, as Salman Abedi spent 2 hours inside the venue during an Ariana Grande concert before carrying out his attack. It's been a 6-year journey for Martin's mother to campaign for the new legislation, a campaign that brought her to Downing Street as it finally became law. And a meeting with the Prime Minister, who made a personal promise to her to make it happen.
For me as a mum, it feels like at least Martin's death had some form of meaning and he didn't die for nothing. It's just great because today we were in Parliament and there was a group of school children and I looked at them and I thought, yeah, this law will keep you safe in the future when you're out and about enjoying life.
With what happened here in mind, the new law requires venues to be better prepared. Small ones will have to do things like training staff to lock doors, close shutters, identify a safe escape route in the event of an attack. Bigger venues will have to install CCTV systems and hire security staff. Venues will be given time to implement the new rules and there'll be a new regulator to ensure they do. It is a moment for those who supported the campaign.
Massive day. Shit, I'm actually really emotional. Sorry. That's how big that is.
Bless you.
Feels like the conclusion of a 42-year career in which I've spent my time fighting bad guys, and this is probably the most powerful tool that we've ever deployed.
Legan Murray says her work on what she calls Martin's legacy isn't over. Making sure everyone now plays their part to protect the public, she says, is essential. In honour of those remembered here, and those for whom the pain and the loss lives on. Greg Milam, Sky News, Manchester.
She's opening up about how she's moving forward from that deadly attack at her concert in Manchester. In the emotional moment, she decided to return to the stage. It's been over a year since Manchester.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought you weren't going to perform again.
I didn't think I was going to do that.
It was 10:30 p.m. on May 22nd. Ariana Grande had just finished her sold-out concert for 20,000 at Manchester Arena when an explosion rocked the stadium. Inside the crowd, many young children and teenagers with their parents racing for the exits. Outside, mayhem. Police later confirmed a suicide bomber had killed the memorial.
Cher Maximum loved Carnival. This is her at one in Bristol in the summer of 2023. But it would be in this familiar setting just a year later where she would lose her life. On the 25th of August last year, Cher was celebrating Notting Hill Carnival's Family Day with her friends and a 3-year-old daughter. But also there was 20-year-old Shaquille Tibu, who after leaving home without a weapon, would hours later be holding a zombie knife. He was involved in a fight that broke out in the top left-hand corner of this video. The crowd surges away from what the court heard was a horrifying outbreak of violence between Tibu and his older brothers and 2 other men. Cher had been chatting to her friends who were sat right here when Shaquille Tibu knocked into her. As she stumbled and turned to push him away, the knife he was holding went into her upper leg and she fell backwards. The whole incident unfolded in just 8 seconds, and her daughter saw it all.
The feeling of loss is to this moment overwhelming. And so is the feeling of rage.
Lawrence is Cher's cousin. He's part of the family unit, now rallying around a little girl who was meters away from the attack.
She saw her mother drop to the floor, and then she saw her mother bleed. That's a daughter's last memory, living memory of her mother, and to live with that, knowing that happened, to know that somebody did that, that's why it's so hard.
Cher's murder, but a jury has now found him guilty.
Do you understand what sentence so far? Yeah. Okay.
Cher died in hospital 6 days after the stabbing. A magical, joyous and loving human who cherished music, entertainment and family leaves a gaping hole in the lives of her loved ones.
Her energy itself would fill the room with light. So that's really who she was. Yeah, she was a very bright light. It's still difficult to say to how we celebrate this life that it was taken so prematurely, you know. But I think it goes into her daughter, and it's to give her daughter the best life and much love, and to tell her who her mother was.
And who she was, they will never forget. Ashnarinag, Sky News.
We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. We're in the money, and the skies are sunny. Old man trouble, you are through, you done us wrong. We never see a headline about a bread line today.
So well, and Labour's vote, as you say, has collapsed.
Loss of confidence in the Labour Party. No one knows what the Prime Minister really stands for. A sense that somehow, in this very patriotic constituency, the Labour Party doesn't really stand for those values anymore. A sense from working people whose alarm clocks go off at 5 o'clock in the morning that they're paying ever more taxes and they wonder why. But I promise you that the fact that there are 750 young men who've illegally crossed the English Channel living in this constituency alone, it's a sense of fairness and what's right and what's wrong, bordering, I would say, even on resentment. And we picked that up very strongly in the doors with people who voted Labour for all of their lives. In mayoral contests, but in old Labour areas, North Tyneside, Doncaster, we missed out by cigarette paper on both of those. We are smashing into the Labour vote in many parts of the North. Durham tomorrow will be the acid test of how much we fit into Labour. But Lincolnshire and Staffordshire show you that in areas that Conservatives have always run, we're making massive progress there too. So it's a phenomenal night for us. Well, Kelly Badenot, please stay. I mean, please don't resign. We want you to stay on as leader. I'll put some money in if you like to keep you there. No, she's got an impossible job. The Conservative Party is split. And what you'll see tomorrow, as the West Country results come in, is you'll see a stack of 2021 Conservative votes will have come to us, but also go to the Liberal Democrats as well. The Conservatives are standing in the middle of the road in terms of their own supporters and getting hit by vehicles coming both ways. And to Sir Keir, well, just keep going and making life easy. What's a stack of 2021 Conservative votes will have come to us, but also go to the Liberal Democrats as well. The Conservatives are standing in the middle of the road in terms of their own supporters and getting hit by vehicles coming both ways. And to Sir Keir,
with the Tories, as Robert Jenrick wants,
just keep going and making life easy.
What Tories, as Robert Jenrick wants,
coming both ways. And to Sir Keir, Well, just keep going and making life easy.
As Robert Jenrick wants, and in fact Lord Houchin as well, to keep Labour out next time.
Yeah, I bet they do. One very clear message that comes from the west of England, where Aaron Banks came a very close second, from North Tyneside, from the contest in Doncaster, the mayoral contest in Doncaster. Very clear message tonight. In much of this country, if you vote Conservative, you will get Labour. And what tonight does is it embeds us. We now are the opposition party in the United Kingdom to the Labour Party, and the Tories, frankly, are a waste of space. And
crap out of him, would you? Seriously. I will pay out of him, would you? Seriously. I will pay for the legal fees, I promise. Now there's a remnant, yeah, he's right there. I promise. Now there's a remnant, yeah, he's right there. Hello. Uh-oh. In the good old days, they'd ripped him out of that seat so fast. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall.
And I saw this fellow with a long face, and I talked to anybody me that I talked back, and I said, what's up with you? And he said, I'm not going home to our house. I said, aren't you? He said, no. I said, why are you going back? He said, there's a terrible smell in our house. I said, is there? He said, aye, the wife keeps cats. I said, well, have you tried opening the window? He said, what, let all my pigeons out?
She takes after her father. Her father is a horrible man. He's in bad company when he's on his own. And me, you've never met a meaner man in your life. You should have seen our wedding. We got 14 electric toasters for wedding presents. Her father gave us a sliced loaf. I'll tell you how mean he is. He used to be a mountain climber. He was trapped once climbing the Matterhorn, frozen stiff to a ledge for 2 days and nights, hanging by his fingertips for grim death. And they got a rescue helicopter 100 foot below, and the fellow got out and shouted up, "Hey, our Scouts Red Cross!" He said, "Clear off, I give you something last year."
The English teacher went over in Ireland teaching. He says to this little lad, Tony Flanagan, he says, who pulled down the wall of Jericho? He said, what, me? So he went to the headmaster. He said, what a school this is. I've taught all over the world. He said, I've just asked a little boy there called Tony Flanagan who pulled down the walls of Jericho. And he said it wasn't him. The headmaster said, well, I've known the Flanagan family for about 25 years. And if young Tony Flanagan said he didn't do it, then I believe it.
It's honest fella. It's honest fella won the pools, you know. And his mate says, was it now then, Paddy, a cruise? He said, not. He said, I'm going to spend a lot of money on these elocution lessons. He said, I'm sick of the English taking me out of us. So he went over to Ireland and he come back, you know, he spent about £15,000 there to speak proper. And he come back to Liverpool and he walked in the shop, he says, good morning. How the devil are you? And the scout said, I'm alright, like that. He said, I want the largest box of fondling peas you've got. He said, no, sell them, Paddy. How do you know Irish?
Been telling us for years and years and years and years that those who come here on the small boats illegally are fleeing, you know, terrible horrors at home and fleeing war zones and, you know, fleeing terrible persecution in their home countries, right? And that we can't ever question any of them. There's no suggestion that any of them might be actually terrorists, or they might be, you know, criminals, or they might be coming here for nefarious purposes to take part in criminal activity. We can't do any of that. But they've all gone very quiet suddenly because now the Labour government is in and they're saying, well, we have to deport some people. even though they're not really doing it. But suddenly now, also, and I saw this with his announcement on the NHS yesterday, he's effectively privatising bits of the NHS.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying a word.
Well, that's not new. I mean,
Not
Blair-
one. But Blair is not Starmer. Let's face it. These are the same people who would get absolutely blue murder if Rishi Sunak had started talking about it.
Yeah, but I think it's important we govern with evidence, on the basis of evidence, and Ruth Below has done a great job trying to get evidence on criminality, disproportionate criminality, amongst certain groups. One of those groups is the migrant groups.
Yeah.
And we don't check for these people coming in. They decide to come here, and the human rights law protects them, and then they have a Muslim state, right? So they're deciding to come here. We have no say in it at all. We find out that some of those groups are disproportionately criminal. The Albanian is off the scale. How can one community have so much criminality in it? A sensible
honestly.
say we're not going to have this. And change what is happening. We're not doing it.
And Albanians forever coming to the country.
It's a rational evidence.
So take all the Albanians who are in prison, who account for the largest number of foreign prisoners in our prison system, and deport them all.
But they, again, get the theory. Why is it happening? The problem is that they can't. There's no amount of suffering, basically. And this is suffering. If you look at the criminality, it's 130,000 arrests by foreigners last year. This is people getting attacked and hurt and raped and killed in some cases. The problem with the progressive is that the progressive, there's no amount of pain that they're prepared to put on the society to fulfil their little dreams of utopia. They want this wonderful society. They cannot see
what do you think's behind it? It's arrangements.
It's arrangement.
Yeah, but how do they get to that place where, I mean, you and I are talking here as two rational human beings, I think. I don't think either one of us would be described by anyone except for Keir Starmer as far right. You know, we've grown up in this country. I grew up in a mostly white neighbourhood, which was North London, as it was then. It's still a relatively white neighbourhood. It hasn't changed much, but there's a lot of foreigners now who have come in. That's part of the cause. You know, I went to school in a relatively white school. I think we had one or two black kids in the school. I went through most of my life knowing people from Britain. Right? I lived in America. New York was a very open place to me. I couldn't believe quite how many people were there. It was a melting pot. But everybody who was there was American.
Yeah.
Didn't matter whether they were Russians or whether they were Israelis or where they came from. They were all Americans, right? Been telling us for years and years and years and years that the
I thought Puffy was a phony. I thought he pretended to be like a gangster, pretended to be tough, where in reality, he was the first to go to bed.
I mean, there's the music and then there is the person making the music.
There are three deadly people on this panel, me, you, and DJ Vlad. They do not like the fact that the three of us are here talking right now.
I thought Puffy was a phony. I thought he pretended to be like a gangster, pretended to be tough, where in reality, he was the first to go to bed.
I mean, there's the music and then there is the person making the music.
There are three deadly people on this panel, me, you, and DJ Vlad. They do not like the fact that the three of us are here talking right
career. Unlike her, who voted for the war without knowing what she was doing, I would not.
That was more liberal than hers.
Don't vote for a Wall Street sellout like Hillary Clinton.
Dollars.
That's what they offered.
On days where she would make one.
Attending a number of private fundraisers, building those campaign coffers.
Trump was holding
Big rallies in important swing states.
You know, votes instead of you.
Her approval ratings are still underwater, and so better to send in either surrogates who are more popular or surrogates who can sort of fly under the radar and just visit with volunteers.
And make sure that your bumper sticker.
Real America, that's the real people out there, and those are the real people who are going to go vote by the millions for Donald J. Trump.
Real America sees what's going on here, what I would call the real America, which is working class.
The people out here in real America think it's crazy. There seems to be a misunderstanding about who the real
died after being struck by a van on a Sutton Coldfield golf course. The crash took place at Aston Wood Golf Club in Blake Street shortly before 10:30 a.m. on Friday, April 11th. A grey Nissan van being pursued by West Midlands Police through Little Aston went onto the golf course and struck the woman. She was airlifted to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by the Midlands Air Ambulance with life-threatening injuries. The woman, who was said to be in her 60s, remained in a critical condition, but sadly lost her life on Tuesday, April 15th. Died after...
Сурмани вішали на гак, глянувши востаннє на цей світ біленький, усміхнуло.
Now a little bit more communal, with the any Irish people out there left together. Good evening! Right now, if there's any of you out at the moment with somebody else's old woman, piss off. Because he's got a camera behind me that's going to fly around you and you could get yourself in king trouble. Now for those of you who've never seen it, boy, tell stories about everybody. Englishmen, Irishmen, Scotsmen, Welshmen, and them. You've seen that, Nick? The trouble is the bastards sit in the shadows and you can't find them. Well, not I've had, he might have had his teeth out. Where are you? About the glass door mirror. Now this is true. It's true. This colour fella. I thought I kid saw one then. We should be careful because the bastards can throw a spear from two on us, yeah? probation. You know what I mean? The jail, but yeah. I tore a tweet in, but it makes my army right over there. He said, hang on, so I got to do rough around and he's getting the helmet. Fine. He said, that don't do it. I tried banging against the wall and the wall fell over. He said, this one's a shot. How you done anyway? He said, we're going to go with a shot when it did. He said, right, meet me at Houston Station, Platinum 7 o'clock. We'll get rid of that. I met him, he said, right, I've got a reserved first class compartment. We'll get on the train. I'm going to try and pick up a bit of speed. You get your ticket out. I'll lower the window because you won't be able to reach it. You stick it out in the cold air will use a little gear. Sometimes to 90 miles an hour. Somebody with the ticket out, he said, right, pick it out. He said, it's stopped. He said, no, it's been a car. Bring it back. He said, what do I do with all these mailbags? Irishman, the Scotsman, and the Englishman caught by the cannonballs. The cannonball chief said to the Scotsman, there was always an Irishman with an Englishman and a Scotsman. The Welsh can never get in there. He says to the Scotsman, where do you come from? He says, Glasgow. He said, stick him in the pot. He said to the second fellow, where do you come from? He said, I come from London. He said, stick him in the pot. He says to the Irishman, where do you come from? He said, Dublin. He said, let him go. So the cannibal says to the chief, why are you going to let? You know he's cannibal as well. He says, why are you going to let that fella go? He said, well, the last fellow I had from Dublin in the pot, he ate all the bloody potatoes. The big sow. He said, I'm going to sell it. He said, don't sell it, bring it over to my place and we'll put it with the bow. He said, I've got a big bow and we'll stick them together and we'll make a few bob. He said, right. So he stuck the great big sow in the wheelbarrow and took it over to his mate's farm. And he put it with the bow. He said, now, how do we know whether it's all right now? He said, well, in the morning, when you look out the window, if the sow is rolling in the mud, it's okay. It's pregnant. But if it's eating the grass, you have to bring it back. This morning, he opened the window, there's the sow eating the grass. In the wheelbarrow to his mate, to the bow. Not getting bored, are they? So he put it with the boar again. Next morning he woke up there, was eating the grass again, so he had to put it back in the wheelbarrow. Pushed it all the way up to his mate's place. Next morning, eating the grass, off the winds again in the wheelbarrow. This went on all week. Saturday morning having a lay and he said to his wife, mate, for God's sake, look outside and see what the sow's doing. Whether it's rolling in the mud or eating the grass. She said it's sitting in the wheelbarrow. This Irishman was in lodgings. The first morning he went to work. In his lunch, there was 2 slices of bread and 1 lump of cheese. When he came back that night, the lady said, did you enjoy your lunch? He said, it was very nice. Only there wasn't enough of it. The second week, it went on and on. 2 slices, 4 slices. At the end of 3 weeks, he was getting 96 slices of bread and 48 lumps of cheese. So she said, did you enjoy your lunch? She said, it's all right, but there wasn't enough of it. So she decided to try it. She baked a loaf. 6 foot high, 4 foot wide and 11 foot deep. She cut it in two and put 100 bit and a half of cheese in. Wrapped it up in the newspaper, 4 editions. Put these back and sent them to work when he came home that night. She said, did you like your lunch? She said, it was terrific, but to see her back with the 2 slices.
The most important thing for me, my children, his mom, his brother, his sibling, was to see him alive. And we saw him alive.
Is that the one? Yeah. The president listing allegations against him in a bid to justify that. This man is according to certified statements that we get, is a very violent person. And they want this man to be brought back into our country where he can be free. Diego Garcia's first public appearance since the 29-year-old was deported to a high-security prison in El Salvador by mistake.
We're here just a few weeks after the Summer Olympics in Paris with one of the biggest stars from the games. Snoop Dogg, thanks for joining us here on Forbes Life.
Thank you for having me.
It seems from the outside, that kind of the public perception, the public image of Snoop Dogg has changed, obviously, over the past 30 years. What I'm curious about is, was there intentional effort put into that, or do you feel like kind of the world changed around you?
I just think when you organic and authentic to who you are, eventually the world will catch up. What I didn't do was try to, follow the fads or the trends. I just stayed me the whole way. Even when it was rocky and when it was bad and I wasn't as hot or successful or liked or loved, I managed to continue to be me. And that's something I want to say to everybody that's watching. Stay you at all times. Ain't nothing wrong with being you. Find a way to be you and master that craft and stick with it.
One example of that is kind of, I think, the way that perception of cannabis or the marijuana industry has changed, in the past 30 years. And obviously now you work in
jails. We'd have been doing the interview 15, 20 years ago. They'd be taking you to jail because I'd have gave you all this dope and said it was yours.
When you think about it from like a, you're good.
Oh my God, Mom.
Please no. When you think about it from like a business perspective, to now be someone that works in that field, that is making money in that field, I guess, like, how do you process kind of that change over 30 years?
Well, I wasn't here when Prohibition happened and alcohol was illegal and it became legal, but I look at it as the same sport. Something that the government definitely had to get control of, and once they was able to, tax it and monitor it, I knew it would become legal. And once it became legal, I did all of the proper steps to make sure that I was able to get into the industry and, not just be used as a victim or used as a face, but I went and met with the MEDs when this thing first started. And I sat down with them and got a real understanding on what I was about. I was about the medical side of it and making sure that we reached the right purpose and the right intentions. And we did things where we reached out to the elders and the patients that really needed it, which showed our true interest. We were trying to show that this is something that could be used for medical purposes and not just for recreational. And once the business, became the business, I was looked at as someone who really cared rather than just trying to come in and steal money because I was an advocate. No, I really cared because I have family members that really need this and needed this to survive, and they was dealing with cancer and dealing with certain diseases, and this got them through. So I wanted to be a voice for it, and that was the best way I could do it.
A lot of artists kind of have that wide appeal. Why do you think that you're able to appeal to different kinds of folks?
Well, today on an offer put forward by the employer, our members rejected that by 97%. I think the reason for that is very, very clear. The offer is deficient. It doesn't deal with the main issue. It doesn't deal with the cliff edge drop in pay in the drivers. And they're up to around 200 drivers. We face a drop from £14,000 a year to £32,000 per year. That's in addition to the issues that we've been trying to negotiate around for the loaders. So the proposal from the employer didn't include any of that detail in it. It was woefully deficient. I think they were just hoping that we would close our eyes and ears and ignore what's coming down the line. Today on an offer put forward by the employer, our members rejected that by 97%. I think the reason for that is very, very clear. The offer is deficient. It doesn't deal with the main issue. It doesn't deal with the cliff edge drop in pay in the drivers. And they're up to around 200 drivers. We face a drop from £14,000 a year to £32,000 per year. That's in addition to the issues that we've been trying to negotiate around for the loaders. So the proposal from the employer didn't include any of that detail in it. It was woefully deficient. I think they were just hoping that we would close our eyes and ears and ignore what's coming down the line. Today on an offer put forward by the employer.
minoritet.
Oh my god. Who let me have a record deal? Hello, I'm Jessie J and I'm going to react to some iconic clips. They're not of me because I am not iconic. Oh, I literally just want to like go, oh god. It's just so much. Oh my god. And the cat suit just like gave me no arse, so I just looked like a udon noodle with a head. That was one of the most insane moments of my life, but that performance I just never forget. Like, I was so nervous. And when I get adrenaline, I just sing harder, and I can see that I just wish that I'd just gone, it looks like I'm sped up. If you watch the whole thing, like even from when I'm walking at the beginning, I'm like, everything's just so like, I'm like, it looks like I'm just like someone's put me on, only me, no one else. I'm on ×2, you know, on a ×2 voice note, and I'm like, but yeah, it was a fun time. I just remember that specific performance was going to be on 3, we were going to do a chair thing where we were doing on chairs, and when we got to rehearsals, I just remember thinking, no, I look like a spider monkey trying to do yoga on an office chair. I just said, can I just do what I would feel comfortable, which is walk through the audience? And again, I just did that at the BAFTAs, so maybe I'm just repeating things. Honestly, I just remember just being completely out of my comfort zone in those environments, but also just loving it. But yeah, bless my heart with the like a dolphin. Oh, it's so hot. Like hot, not as in like hot. That's literally why I just shot the Living My Best Life video. Exactly the same step. So that I did for Dare Jessie J in like 2010, and someone dared me to dress up as a gorilla and go and sing stand up in the middle of Trafalgar Square. Is that Trafalgar Square? And I just shot Living My Best Life in the exact same stairs 2 weeks ago. It doesn't even feel full circle, I just feel like it just feels like I'm the same person, honestly. I just am in a different outfit. I'd still do that now.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you for making my dreams come true.
Those sideburns though, yes. Not me having stairs on the side of my head. Someone cut my fringe too wide and then I had to grow it back out. And it was like steps. But it's kind of become a fashion thing recently, so you never know. And you know what's crazy is that obviously that moment feels more profound now. Now I've lived the 15 years since that, and watching that back and how incredible that moment was that I probably didn't realise. I wish I could have just, anything I watch of me from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I just want to say, just calm, just slow down. Just take your time, because you know, I have ADHD, everything's quite fast, and I'm very like, and I have to constantly remind myself to just be in the moment and just calm down, especially with things like that, and maybe prepare a speech a little bit and get your teeth whitened. The baby sweet corns are not a vibe on Google. 15 years later, call them the gob. What was this filmed on? An Android? 1800. That was a performance for British Airways, and I had to sing on a plane. And it was just so funny because no one knew how to react, because it was just they were sitting as if they were, well, I don't know if they were about to take off after I got off, but everyone was just kind of like this, like, I wish I was like doing the trolley, you know, like, would you like a bread roll? I get nervous everywhere I go. No, every time I sing, which I think is key, I think nerves are important, and I need to have that little bit of like nervous energy. But I definitely think before the Olympics, my heart was in my mouth before I sang with Queen and we did We Will Rock You. That was definitely a moment of oh my god, I'm going to die and faint, and this yellow duvet is going to swallow me up, and I'm going to trip and fall and forget the words. Like, there's just so many things going through your head. And then the music starts and you just got to go out and hope for the best. I literally have a nose like a dog.
Do you? Okay.
It's always cold and I can smell everything.
Really?
I'm the first person to smell anything. Like, I'll go into a dressing room and be like, it smells like bins. And everyone's like, no, it doesn't. I'm a dog. Oh my god. I've got a nose like a dog. It's so cold and it's so cold. I'm the first one to smell anything. I go in the dressing room and it smells like bins. Oh my god. Who let me have a record deal? No, I do still have a nose like a dog. I do actually smell everything, and like, I can walk into my house and go, something's off in the fridge. Oh, I wonder how he's doing. Before I have my teeth done. I miss those teeth. Ooh, his voice is so good. So that was really random. So this app came about really quickly, and I was in Vegas when I did that video in a hotel room. I wasn't with him, so it was on an app called Shmuel, and so I had to sing it as if the other person wasn't there but was there. And then this clip, there was a couple that went viral. That was one of them, and I never forget it. I did the Ellen show and went on, and he came on, and yeah. Boys! Wow, that day was early start. Emil Nava, we was in a church, which was very wrong. It was shot in the bottom of the church. Isn't that wrong? Yeah, no one knew that. Now they do. But it was a really fun video to shoot, and everyone that was in. That's probably one of the videos that I've had the most like extras, where they actually were doing something specific. And I just remember having the best time ever. And I had no idea really what was happening, because it was the first video I'd ever done. And it's still one of my favourites to date. And yeah, it was fun. But I remember like people coming up to me in Sainsbury's going, "You don't have that crystal lips on." And I was like, "No, I don't wear that all the time." You know, me just accidentally just eating copy decks wasn't something that I wanted to do. Thank you for watching. I hope that I make more of these. Yay!
Boost your mobile game's revenue with rewarded ads. Unlike regular ads, rewarded ads are a part of the game. They're non-intrusive, valuable to players, and rewatchable, which increases app revenue. Visit adbomb.com/games to learn more about rewarded ads.